Everybody, welcome to Daily Distinction for Monday. Glad you are here. Really important reasons why your business must tell your story. And if you don't tell it, what's going to happen? All right, so 3 reasons why you must tell your story and the downside of what happens if you don't. Hey, Brian, good to see you. Hope you're having a great Monday, kicking off the week here, and all good with you. So let's talk about, by the way, don't forget to, coming up December 30th, Distinct. That's what it is all about. All right, so 3 reasons that you must tell your story. 3 reasons. Now, there's many reasons that you need to be telling your story, but I'm going to focus on just 3 today. And I'm also going to talk about what the downside is if you don't do it. Okay, so not only the benefit that you get, but where's the pain? What happens if you don't do it? What happens? This is awful, man. My web. I had a coaching call earlier today, and Donovan, if you're watching, I was hardwired in upstairs. And I'm doing great downstairs. I ran a check and it looked like we were doing okay. But anyway, I'll move this around a little bit, just see if it improves. Look, your story makes you. I mean, we know the story of Apple. We know the story of Amazon. We know the stories of top companies. And you say, well, wait, that wouldn't happen to me. Well, yes, it can. I don't mean to say that, oh, have a great story, you're going to be the next Apple. That's certainly not the case. But what I do mean is this: when you're able to convey stories, you stand out from the competition. If all you're talking about is the price of your products and services, then to beat you, all I've got to do is come up with a lower price. What happens when we create a powerful story is we become memorable. Never forget this. This is really important. Our minds think in terms of images. We remember images infinitely more effectively than we remember words or numbers. It's why you may remember, the image of Washington crossing the Delaware here in the United States, or you might remember an image of something that happened at a historical event. But when I say, hey, by the way, what's the date on that? I don't know, right? You can sing the lyrics to songs, yet you can't tell me when that recording was released. In other words, what happens is we remember the story. We remember the image, and stories are word pictures. It creates images that people know and remember and connect with. So it's absolutely critical that we come up with stories, because that's the only way that we really become memorable. So what's your story? And if you haven't polished it and perfected it and improved upon it, then you are not creating how memorable you can be in the marketplace. I mean, I can't tell you the last Wendy's commercial. What was it about? Honestly, I don't remember. But man, we all remember Where's the Beef? I mean, we remember the story of the little old lady, getting the hamburger, and the vivid image. If you're old enough that you were around then, you remember that commercial. And so that's one of the most important aspects that we need to focus on. Darcy, I am so glad you are here today. I've been wondering about you, and thanks for the message that you sent. I appreciate it. And It's really, really good to see you, and good that you're doing better and that you are here. So, hey, Cheryl and Weldon, man, it's great that you are here. Curtis from Mesa, Arizona today. Good to see you. Thanks for checking in. I am so glad that you are here. You bet. All right. So first, your story makes you memorable. If you don't tell your story, you're in the sea of sameness. You are in the swarm of the similar. You are trapped in the worst place in the world in business to be. And that's just in with everybody else. Here's the second reason you need to be telling your story. Story unites. So when people know your story, if it's compelling enough, they want to tell others. They become your marketing. My buddy Jay Baer wrote about it in his book, Talk Triggers. A lot of us have remarked about it to each other. We know when we go in a DoubleTree hotel, we're going to be handed a hot cookie. And many of us have told stories about that in our speeches. So in other words, we kind of became the marketing arm for DoubleTree. If I pull into a Hyatt, I have a good experience. I pull into a DoubleTree and my mouth starts watering because I know there's a cookie in my future. It creates this way that we tell stories for them. So when you have a story, you do more than build customers, you create advocates. Your customers tell your story and they become your marketing department. But yet we're also busy. We're also overwhelmed. We don't have time to think of what the story is for your business. In other words, you've got to tell us the story. You got to tell your customers their story. And as you tell your customers the story, then they become your advocates. So where's the pain here? If you're a transactional business, think about how much you have to spend in marketing costs just to get attention. If you're a transactional business, think about the missed opportunities of people talking, grow your business. When you move from transactional business into advocate marketing, man, it makes all the difference in the world for you. I mean, is there any of the leading companies in the world that don't have advocates? No, I can't think of any. Why is that? Because advocates grow your business. But people don't become advocates without feeling something about dealing with you. And so what we have to do is to stimulate that emotion through telling them our story. Because once they get our story, they feel united with us. They feel connected to us. And therefore, you're not just being transactional. You're building customers into advocates that will do marketing for you in the marketplace, increasing your sales and lowering your marketing costs, as opposed to always being on the hunt for more new customers. And that whole churn, man, how many businesses do you know out there that just works on the churn? They can't keep customers, so they got to be constantly marketing aggressively just to replace the ones that they're losing. Man, you build your story and you connect with your customers and you move them from transactional customers into advocates for your business. Here's the third. A great story displays your humanity. You stop being a business that's just out there selling and hawking your products and services. Man, you become real. You become real. We connect with you. So what happens if you don't do it this way? Well, the challenge is that when you don't do it this way, you don't build the kind of relatability that people are looking for today, more than ever before. Every study that I've seen indicates that particularly millennials, but it's growing in all generations, we look for that connectivity. We want to know what you're about, how you take care of your stakeholders, what's important to you. And if you don't talk about that through the power of your story, man, you're just out there hawking your wares. And that's a difficult place to be. Yeah, absolutely right, Curtis. I mean, when when they feel connected to us, our retention level goes up dramatically. As opposed to being out there just recruiting all the time. I mean, that's the key to profitability in your business, I know. It's the key to profitability in everybody's business, is being able to say, here's our story, and here's who we are, and here's how we got it started. I mean, don't you love these stories of people that started their business in small circumstances and they build it? I'll bet and here's the other thing, as a customer, how do you get me to go from being a prospect to a customer? I have to know how I'll benefit from using your products or services. How do you tell me that? How do you convince me of that? Well, if you don't have a story, if it's just all about numbers, then all I'm going to do is search for the lowest price. But if you've got a story that connects with me, now you might be telling me not the story of your business, but you might be telling me the story of how another customer, somebody I think is just like me, how I'll benefit from using your product, because here's the story of a customer who did exactly that. So if you don't have your story, you miss out on multiple opportunities to sell and serve. Those are three pretty important reasons. Number one, your story makes you memorable, makes you stand out and get the attention of the people that you seek to sell and serve. Story unites and connects. So you build more than customers, you create advocates. And story makes you real. It shows that you're more than just out there pushing products and services. But notice the downside. If you don't tell the story, then you don't stand out. There's not a compelling reason for me to listen to what you have to say if all you're doing is talking about facts and figures and features and numbers and all those kinds of things. If I don't feel connected to you, then you're transactional. And the real profitability of your business and mine is through repeat long-term customers, enhancing lifetime customer value. And third, story displays that we're real, that we care. And it also illuminates how customers, just like me as the prospect, how they've benefited from your products or services. So now you're helping rather than just selling. It is impossible to break through the noise with logic. It's so right, Brian. It's so right. And I mean, we see this in what's labeled as fake news a lot, right? Why does fake news work? Well, because the people doing fake news do a pretty good job of telling stories, and it's difficult. Yes, like leads to trust leads to buying leads to relationship. But notice, I got to like you before I start to trust you. There's very few circumstances, there's very few situations where people go, man, I can't stand them, but I trust them. I mean, if I'm not too certain that I think you're trustworthy, that's pretty difficult. Better late than glad to have survives another round with the IRA. There you go. Well, glad you are surviving those rounds, Charles. That's something. Yes, Robert. That's why being an engagement amplifier. I love that phrase, an engagement amplifier. And I'll suggest to you as well, that's what story does. If you'd like to help build your story, we're going to spend part of a day working on it. Check it out. It's December the 30th. It's distinctivestory.com. Just check it out there. Distinctivestory.com will tell you all about what we're going to be doing during that day. Love to have you sign up. Love to see you for that. So your key, get to work on your story. It makes a significant difference. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, same time on the next Daily Distinction. Thanks, everybody, for watching.